Just wanted to keep going my videos there. It's June the 20th, Thursday. Obviously I've been speaking about kind of the corruption that's going on within this case there, and I've been speaking about the Bahoy kind of fate, which I was recruited into by Dr. Anne Carey and her husband Pat Carey while I was studying psychology out in Tranmore. He was inviting students up to the class, and she was trying to use, well, she was actually using the HSE to promote this kind of what is basically a cult. And I know this all sounds crazy, and over the next kind of few weeks I'll explain like what was going on inside this, and you can come to your own decision or make your own minds of whether or not this is a cult. But this is very much a cult, and they deceive people and they manipulate people into this. Like what they promote, this is them there, look, this is it on the HSE there. See, being promoted by the HSE. And my ex has this tattoo on her wrist and she's still in it, and this is why she's getting all the fund from the HSE and all these kind of supports from the HSE for our Hair Together program, which is essentially my program, which she kind of ruined in 2019 by spreading all the sex shit that she spread. And yeah, basically they're supporting her, and I'm going to talk about all of that and kind of this person's behaviour up until then, because you will not believe how narcissistic and dangerous this woman is, and she should not be kind of portrayed as some kind of role model, because this is not what she is. And it's not about me kind of being spiteful or looking for revenge. I just want to kind of highlight the dangers of people like this and how they kind of can manipulate the court with the right connections. And what's happening there now is I'm getting more cohesive in me thinking, more clarity basically. And I've been socially shunned. Everyone in Waterford will know this, but unfortunately I'm surrounded by a lot of kind of people that say how high when people say jump, and this is kind of an ongoing thing in Waterford. There's very few people that will kind of like support people and he's supporting, being honest with you. And it's not just me, like the whole situation regarding that children's group link stuff, like as I was speaking, that's going on since the late 80s, 90s, 2000s. Like these people should have been supported. And it's not like the guards didn't know about it. The guards were all well aware, because multiple people tried on multiple occasions to bring cases about that, but it was always kind of fell between the cracks. And they tried to basically jump on all this stuff to kind of try and clean their own reputation. But I'll speak about all that after the court case. But I just wanted to talk about the true nature, right, of this Bahoy crowd, because this is who's pushing this whole social shunning, and they use kind of sexual slander and kind of mental illness. This is what they employ to kind of question your kind of mentality, basically. And there's some crazy stuff around this. As I spoke about how Dr. Anne Carey and her husband had turned up at my father's funeral. This is 100% fact. I never told any of my family about this. They didn't know who they were. Like, and I felt it was wrong if I was to put that on my family and they're trying to grieve. And I just want to give some kind of insight into the kind of mental kind of games that this person was playing. And when I brought my ex to court in 2015, she started dropping the kids up to me, and she'd have this Dr. Anne Carey in the car. So I'd be saying to her, don't be bringing her up around me home. And she'd be like, there's no one in the car, you're imagining things. This is the kind of stuff that was going on. And on another occasion then, there's a neighbour who's harassing my mother. He has a history of kind of threatening women. He's a history of assault and kind of youths. And he was like daily harassing my mother. And my family all knows about this. And on one occasion, he got the stereo, put the stereo on my mother's wall, was them next door, and he played my father's funeral song back to back all day, all long. And the guards knew about this. My brother rang the guards, and the guards came down and said, he's probably drunk, trying to ignore him. That's how nasty this kind of stuff really is. So I just want to talk about the true nature of this kind of whole Bahoy stuff. I'm going to get into it more and more in depth over the next few weeks. And I'm just asking people that you can like watch it. If you can share it, I'd appreciate it. So this is the facts of what the Bahoy is. They promote themselves as being open to all religions, and kind of what they promote, you'd have to just Google. It's all completely fake, completely fake. They are totally controlling, subversive, manipulating, deceiving. They actually promote. Once you're so far in, they get you, you have to bring other members in. This is though, it's like a pyramid scheme. Once you're in, you have to bring other people in. The last time actually, my ex, before they broke up, she was on the verge of bringing her niece in. And I hope that girl seen sense and left this crap, being honest with you. But they're extremely manipulating. And as I said, Dr. Anne Carey herself is from Kerry. Her family doesn't speak to her in Kerry, because they're under the presumption that she's in a cult. Coincidence, obviously. And how would I know this? Her husband told me this. My ex tried to push this kind of the new beginning, that's the name of that Bible. She tried to push that on my mother. My mother would have been a practicing Catholic, so she basically told her where to put the book. And my ex, being the two-faced person that she is, ran up and told these people kind of like how my mother kind of viewed this whole kind of thing. So her husband told me that they were going to be my new family, that it's okay if my mother was against all this kind of stuff. Because I was only in it, being honest with you, because my ex was threatening to take the kids back to Ballymun. I didn't want it. Up to that point, I was rearing the kids morning, noon and night. And I have a parenting agreement, which I'll show you, where my ex signed over the kids for 6 days a week. And I'll show you all this. But this is the true nature, right, of the Baha'i faith. The faith would give itself the authority to expel anyone entirely from society, banning them from having any voice. And if the faith subsumed the government, that basically means if it has an association with the government or aspects of the government whatsoever, it is likely there will be no opportunities for housing, employment, legal representation, etc. But this revocation of human rights applies to one's children and anyone who speaks to them for eternity for no reason. Now that's the true nature of this group. Does that sound like kind of a group that should be promoted by our health service? Do you know what I mean? The faith reserves the right to dehumanize someone and its descendants for all eternity without any justification or explanation. This is from another person. I think the documentation illustrates how the Baha'i administration secretly watches, reports on and records activities and views of its members as it sees as a threat. I would be classed as a threat because I started warning people who are potentially going to join this. My ex was encouraged to invite our hair clients one by one, never in twos because they're kind of more mentally strong. So you're encouraged to bring people in one by one, and then the group can apply pressure and then manipulate. Now I'll speak about all of this, as I said, and this stuff is crazy, and I'll probably make myself look unhinged or kind of whatever, but there's a lot of documentation to support what I'm saying, so they can't really deny it. Like all this kind of corruption that's going on, they can't deny that, so they have to try and condone it. These are from other people. Covenant breakers, these are people who speak out about the Baha'i, they call them covenant breakers. And all my friends in the faith were instructed to shun me entirely and never to have any contact with me or face the same expulsions themselves. My wife did not join the Baha'i faith at that time, but she was also expelled and shunned because she refused to take my children and divorce me as they had insisted she must. This is what this stuff kind of pushes, do you know what I mean? This is another person. I was not permitted to attend my brother's wedding, and my family thereafter had to hold separate family functions so that I would not be present at the same time as my brother's wife, who literally held the belief that I was satanic and my breath was poisonous, so that mere contact with me would be dangerous. This is the kind of stuff that these people push, and that our health service, remember now, was promoting. After the birth of my nephew, I was not allowed to see him at all, nor does he even know of the existence of his uncle and the rest of my family. My story is by no means unique. Many of my followers believe within the Baha'i faith report similar experiences. These are some of the tactics that are used regarding the whole kind of Baha'i faith. They claim no knowledge of the given issue by feigning ignorance. This is what they do. They're pretending that there's no issue, that they don't know what I'm talking about, when in fact there's paperwork and documentation that proves what I'm talking about. Not to mention her husband luring students from the class up to the kind of house. There's no way a student should be up in the class, and I've read that in the last kind of video, and I spoke about that, and I read the response from Tramore ETB to show that kind of this person was in fact speaking about this religion. He tried to say it was on the lunch break, and they tried to say because it was on the lunch break, it was nothing to do with him, but he was paid for lunch break, so it was unethical, so he shouldn't have been doing it. But for whatever reason, he was kind of putting it out there that he was Baha'i and telling people to basically come up, and unfortunately I ended up getting mixed up in that. I confided in him basically that I was with my ex, and I was only with her basically because I didn't want the kids going back to Ballymun. But he was carrying all this back to his wife, who was a very sinister human being, Dr. Anne Carey, who I spoke about, lured us into this religion through my ex. She signed us all up, and one thing led to another. We ended up in it, and after about a year then they tried to lock us in a school down in Kilkenny. They tried to say it was a kid's day out. We went down on the Friday. Then they tried to say it was a weekend. It shows your loyalty to the group. And at this time, my ex was like, really involved in this. As I said, she got the tattoo with the logo on her wrist, and she always had to be the centre of attention. And this woman spotted this as a psychologist, and as soon as my ex started talking about her mother, she started backbiting her mother, which is what she always does. I don't have any issue with her mother. I don't see any problem with her mother, being honest with you. But this is what she does, because there's always somebody else to blame. And she became this kind of mother figure to her, this kind of role model to her. And she dragged myself and the kids into this shit. And when we got down to Kilkenny, this happened at Kilkenny College, they rented it out for the weekend. They had lectures down there on the Bahoy, like I want the kids' day out, all this kind of stuff. They're supposed to bring the kids to make pizza. The kids weren't allowed to make the pizza unless they repeatedly chanted this prayer. They told us then they were locking the gates, but they weren't locking us in, they were locking thieves out. That's the way they kind of manipulate the situation. And you can't question any of the teachings in this. If you question the teachings of this, they will destroy your life. They control all PR about themselves. Scientologists done the same for God knows how long. It was only around 30 years ago people started talking out about Scientology, because the internet allowed them a voice, basically. And this is essentially what you have with this group. It's the same tactics. They banned myself and my ex from having sex. I wouldn't convert, being honest with you. There's no way in the world I was going to convert, so she was leading me on. And then we wouldn't have sex. And she said, in order for us to have sex, I would have to convert. So I said no. And that was the kind of straw that broke the camel's back, basically. I told her to go and speak to her family about it. But this is some more insight about it. After the exposer has exposed, they will try to divert to secondary and totally peripheral and irrelevant side issues. Now, does that sound kind of similar to what's been done to me? The exposer is then painted as someone with an axe to grind, biased, deluded. Next, they relate mental instability and insanity to the exposer, which is obviously what's been done to me. Then the last tactic is to wheel out several dubious personas on the scene who claim to be neutral, non-Baha'i observers, who then begin attacking the exposer as well as the issue exposed and supporting the Baha'is. As you can see, there's a whole kind of campaign around this kind of situation, because there's a lot of idiots after getting roped into this. But these people were corrupt. They're trying to make it out now that there's some moral issue and all of a sudden they became corrupt. These people are always corrupt. And the bottom line of this is that I have been socially shunned. And I'm going to speak about all this, and I'm going to put it out there. And am I willing to give up this? I'm not willing to give up. Am I going to get any kind of assistance with it? Realistically, I'm not. So it's up to myself to go and get legally educated about this and try and present the case in the High Court myself. Because there's been a severe breach of human rights, there's been a lack of due process, like there's too much to go into. You can go back through my videos to give you some kind of idea how corrupt the situation is. So I'm going to do that. It's going to take me some time, a couple of years. I'm like over a decade at this, being honest with you, so like another couple of years is not going to really kill me. And that's for the whole social shunning. Like, I kind of knew this was always going to happen, because this is the tactic that these people use. And I'll speak about the real going on of this kind of Baha'i from my own experience, and hopefully somebody is thinking of getting roped into these people that will prevent them from getting roped into this, because it's very deceiving and it's very manipulating, and it's a glorified cult. Do you know what I mean? They just control all PR about themselves. And whereas you have like multiple groups in Waterford after kind of coming to the defence, and I don't mind saying the amount of groups that have come to the defence of the likes of that crowd up in Children's Group, like, i.e. Waterford freewheelers, I don't mind saying, members of Sinn Féin and other kind of small time kind of drug dealers and all this. Do you know what I mean? Grow a fucking brain is all I can say to you, you know what I mean? But these people are up to their neck in the corruption. They got caught being corrupt. They got exposed for being corrupt. So now they have to cling on to the only thing they have, which is all this kind of sexual slander, which was spread. And do I continue to trade insults with all these kind of people? I don't. Do you know what I mean? Because it's pointless. So I need to go now and put my kind of energies into kind of educating myself further and taking it through the courts, because I'm not going to get any legal assistance with this. But at the same time, I'm not going to back down from it. I'm not going to run away from this, and I'm going to stand my ground. What was done to my mother in an effort for that Aunt Carrie to spread this kind of poisonous stuff is absolutely deplorable. And I'm not letting it go. And there's a lot of stuff that I haven't really spoken about, but I'm going to talk about it. My family won't want me talking about it, because it shows basically that they done nothing, to be honest with you, besides kind of telling me mother basically or trying to ignore it, all this kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? She shouldn't have tried to ignore it. You should have fucking defended her. And for these people, it suits them for me to be ranting and raving and cursing or even attacking my own family. I don't speak to my own brothers and sisters. It is what it is. I don't hold any grudges against them, but I'm not going to not talk about what went on and the harassment their mother kind of received, because it makes them look bad. So all of this needs to come out. And that includes Martin Sullivan, my mother's brother, who supported Henry Halligan, who interfered with my mother's funeral. Local kind of hypocrite, good friend of Henry Halligan, another kind of religious hypocrite. God forbid they get off their arse and go and actually do any kind of charity work or actually help someone. Your typical like kind of religious hypocrites sits around praying for change, praying for good, but won't actually go and do anything. But all of this is going to come out, and they don't want me. They don't want me having a voice. They don't want people sharing this. They'll do everything and anything because they can't admit like fault with this. They can never ever admit fault, and I'm never ever going to admit defeat. And the fact that I'm getting kind of more cohesive, more mental clarity, because I'm trying to not respond to these kind of twits, being honest with you, these local idiots, because it is what it is. I owe it to myself, and I owe it to my kind of wife and my daughter and my mother, being honest with you, to educate myself and push it through the courts instead of kind of ranting and raving and kind of all this kind of stuff. But I'll explain more as I go about this Baha'i faith and actually what they teach and the tactics they use and like what was going on when I was in it. And kind of it's embarrassing. It's nearly as embarrassing as all that kind of sex stuff. I find actually this kind of stuff more embarrassing than talking about all that kind of sex stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because you'd be thinking, how can you get lured into something so blatantly obvious? Well, I love the kids and I didn't want the kids to come back to anymore. And it's as simple as that. She was non-existent. My ex was non-existent as a parent to those kids. I had the kids morning, noon and night. And the parenting agreement where she signed over the kids for 6 days a week proves that. There was a complaint in the apartment. I moved out. There was a complaint made by the person in the apartment below us. I was only supposed to have the kids for 2 days a week. And he made a complaint saying that I had the kids every night of the week and he couldn't sleep and all this kind of stuff. So it's documented proof that I did have the kids. And she appeared on the Two Norries in 2022. And I'm going to play that interview. Obviously, I'll have to try and not show her face. Not really sure how to do that. But I'll play it. And I'm going to stop. Every time she tells a lie, I'm going to stop. And I'm going to show documentation that supports what I'm saying against what she's saying. So obviously what I'm saying is obviously serious. And what they're saying is obviously serious. So why is there no investigation to something that's so serious, so blatantly corrupt and so serious? Why is there no kind of investigation? Do you know what I mean, when you think about it? And as I said, Waterford Gardaí have been years covering for the Halligans, and they don't like me kind of rocking the boat here, comparing what was going on with the whole Bill Keneally case, which is like fact. Do you know what I mean? The similarities are there, whether I pointed out or not, they're there. But because kind of children's group link now was kind of supposedly ran by Mary Halligan, sister of ex-mayor, ex-minister John Halligan, there's a whole kind of murky situation regarding all that situation. But there's a court case going on, so I'll not say anything and I'll let that play out. So I'll address that at a later date, because there is stuff I want to say, and if I have to face court or prison over it, I don't mind facing court or prison for telling the truth. Yeah, but I'll leave it there. If you can share or like this, I'd appreciate it. I'll be back sooner rather than later. And just hear me out. When you hear how toxic and how corrupt this situation is, and anyone being lured into this Baha'i, it's the easiest thing in the world to join, because they pretend to be all this kind of open to all these religions, and like they're anti-religions. If you're in it, you're not allowed to mix with people outside of it. They're so controlling. You're not allowed to like question the teachings of this. It's blatantly a cult. Do you know what I mean? But me ex always has to be the center of attention, and got lured into this, and this is why me ex is given a platform. So they're trying to make this as big as possible. So there'll never be any kind of accountability, because it'll be kind of extremely difficult to unravel this kind of whole situation. But I'm going to try. I'm going to have to obviously try and kind of educate myself legally to push this forward. But I'll do what needs doing, and we'll take it from there, I suppose. And I'll be back in touch sooner rather than later. And thanks if you can share this. No bother if you can't.